Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our series lecture. Um, Today we have a guest, Alessio Battistella, that is assistant professor at Politecnico di Milano and is the chairperson of the LATO that carry out research and applied research and design in the context of international cooperation. And they will present his work and their work on ARCO and his ongoing research. So I will give him the floor.
Hi, thank you, Giulio, for inviting me. Thank you, Francesca, for being here and help me to have a conversation and discussion about the theme that we are carrying out both in the same field. I just would like to start with that I'm going to show you right now, which is rebuilding. The idea is, rebuild the historical center of Mosul. But just before, let me start with what is the approach that as ARCO we have. So when we are going to interview, when we are going to work in this kind of area, as architect, we have to focus in a very peculiar issues, very peculiar theme. And under my point of view, it's quite important the idea of architecture. What are the elements that allow us as architects to give our contribution in this context? The first theme, as we would like to work in a sustainable way, are the materials. So when we work, we try to use as much as possible natural material, and in any case, we try to create a chain, a circular chain in the place where we work. And so we try to find materials nearby the place where we are going to design, and so on. So basically, natural reused as much as possible, or recycled in the last two. But we try to start to stay in this perimeter. And this became a kind of theme, design theme. So the technology of the materials, the properties of the materials in this perimeter that should be again a circular, so natural, reused or recycled, must be present in the final project. Then energy. So we focus on passive principle of bioarchitecture. Okay, this must be the first choice. I mean, the shape of the building is a consequence of passive principle by architecture. So, and the properties of the materials. So join all these elements layer by layer, and then merging it, the output is architecture for us. So natural ventilation, orientation, and so on are all elements that help us to give the final shape of the building. Of course, also the active principle to have to complement the project. So wind and photovoltaic panels and windmills energy are quite important for us. But again, the starting point is always how we can design in a proper way to give the maximum level of comfort to the inhabitant of our building. And of course, the technology. As I said before, we try to study which kind of technology, which kind of skills, so which kind of knowledge we can find in the place where we work. And try to elaborate it, work on it, and bring this technology in the contemporary architecture. And so we improve also the language of the architecture, but the starting point is always what I have just said. Okay, so we can find in some place, we can find Pisé, so the rammed earth, in another place, other techniques, but this became a starting point too. And again, we bring it in the contemporary, but we can also use recycled material or reused material and use it in an unconventional way, like tires, for instance, or material that are not used in a building construction, but that we can adapt to our final goals. So what we are really interested in are what we can call appropriate technology or intermediate technology, in a way, which are more or less we are in the same page. So are technology that are strongly innovative under my point of view, but the starting point is a low-tech point. It's something that could be managed by people that are not skilled, by people that are not rich. So it's more democratic and more flexible according to the place where we work, the environmental where we work, okay? The economical issues, the environmental issues, the social issues are into this idea of appropriate technology, okay? And basically the synthesis is exactly what I'm just saying, no? The idea of contains the three pillars of the sustainability, the environmental, social, and economic. Okay, so in each our project, we try to merge these three levels and the idea of appropriate technology according with the place where we work is quite strong, quite evident, quite into the idea of architecture. And to do it, mostly when we work in a very, very borderline place, in a very, very, marginalized place in the world, most of the time we don't have the opportunity to communicate with conventional tools that an architect have, like drawings and so on, because we work with unskilled person. And so is quite important, and we believe that is quite very important, the idea of learning by doing. So we apply it also as a studio, as an office, as a firm. Okay, and so before to go in some place, a part of design it, we also experiment it. We doing it. We make a one-to-one maquette to verify it. This is a methodology which is quite important, quite efficient under my point of view. And the result of this workshop became a kind of manuals, a kind of instruction manuals, again, for people that are not totally skilled on the building field and architectural field. So these are, some example, very simple, should be very comprehensible for people that are not nearby our culture. So should be something not sexy, graphical, sexy for us, but something very clear. Tools, how you get it, and what is the final result. Very, very, very simple. These are some of the page, and now we are going to show. I'm going to show you the some project and how we apply all these what we have just said. Again, we are in Mosul now. This river is the Tigris, as I said before. Here we have all the historical center, and our project is here. We won a competition, and the competition asked us how we can rebuild this school system in Mosul, in the historical center of Mosul, after this huge trauma? How you answer to this question? Do you have any? Maybe later. Okay, this is the center. Again, you can feel how destroyed is it. These are, this is drone picture, is a survey actually by drone, but these are my pictures. As you can see, this is a primary school, and again, it looks like a target, which is quite unfair under my point of view. Again, this is, all these circular empty space look like bones, So it's a kind of target. This is, unfortunately, I need, a bodyguard in this situation, something that is not very fair again. This is what we found. These are survey images, and again, as they ask us how we can rebuild it, how we can do a efficient and culturally adaptable system, scholar system in Mosul. So we start to analyze it as an architect and as a researcher. We try to define a kind of matrix of needed and how we could answer. So try to define the state of the art, what are the typical school in Mosul, how we could innovate it, how we could introduce some different elements. So for instance, the distribution of the classroom, the distribution of the desk, what is already present, the classroom were present, the laboratory, for instance, not, the canteen, not, how we can reuse typical typology that we can find in these areas, like a patio typology. The patio can become something also more accessible. Why not? So we try to mix a kind of brainstorming about the theme that we can adding or maybe introducing in this local culture. As it is a school, we work in this very peculiar typology. So the entrance can be different. The natural light is very important according to the sustainable principle, but also according to the peculiar typology that we are going to working on. So natural light means also shadow system. So everything have a consequence, and everything has a consequence in the language of architecture that we are going to create according with the technology that we are going to use, according with the property of the materials that we are going to use. And so again, everything we have just said. So another analysis that we did are according to the environmental aspect, and we try to evaluate in a qualitative way each indicator according with a peculiar quotient, and we try to give a kind of value and understand if it's already present in the place or is not, and so on. So for instance, the water is quite important, is present in the traditional architecture, is also very important for sustainability, and is not present in the construction system, but is very important as is not very present in this area, and so we have to take care a lot about it. Then we work with vegetation, how we can improve the effect of the vegetation, how we can work with the wind, how again work with the natural light. And one thing that for me is very, very important is understanding how we can merge it with the cultural aspect. Mostly in the Islamic architecture, this is very, very evident. Is one of the best case, under my point of view, where the cultural aspect and the environmental aspect have a same output. Okay, so cultural aspect like the privacy is quite fit very well also with the protection from the environmental issue, the weather and so on. So we have a perfect synthesis between culture and environmental. And when I say environmental, I am talking about how we can protect ourselves from the external environmental. Okay, so again, each element have his own name, no? The quote, I mean, the ventilation made in like with a chimney is his own name. As a capture is a name. So it's part of the local culture. The same for the porch, for the patio, and so on. And so we can evaluate it, understand how it's present in the local culture, and work on it for the new architecture. Again, the same for the construction techniques and for the materials that we can use. Here we have in an earthquake area, so we have also to respond on it, on these kind of issues. So we learn a lot from the local, for local architecture, for traditional architecture, how we can work with this idea. All this study, all these elements became part of participatory process. Okay, so we share all our analysis with the professor that then have to teach in the school, the director of the school, the parents of the children, the children. We have a focus groups with everybody that are all the stakeholders that are involved, also the municipality that are involved in this project. And then we start to design it. You know, before we accumulate a lot of information, we elaborate it, and we start with our concept. The concept starts from environmental. So how is exposed to the sun? It's quite hot in Mosul, as you can understand, as you can imagine. No? So we start from the environmental issues, then we define, we decided to improve the idea of patio. So we work with the importance of the empty space more than the build space. And so around all the empty, we define the building. Okay, so we choose 3 main patios, and around of it, we define the building, and then we overlap in a way the cultural and environmental, like a masharabia, which is a way to define a screen, shadow screen, but also to maintain a high level of privacy. And also the primary school is a quite sensitive typology. We have children in this building, so the privacy is again very, very, very important. And this is the building, no? I'm not going. Well, maybe later I'm going to explain also the huge amount of problems that we found working in a very, very tiny plot with a lot of bureaucracy and so on. But this is the situation where we work. As you can see, we are in the middle of a very dense area. We are in a historical center. This is the main entrance, and we had photovoltaic system, so active principle of architecture, and urban gardens, didactical gardens in the roof for the children. So also the roof which is in the culture of Islamic culture, using the roof, will be used as a open air classroom, and they can grow up, vegetable and so on. These are our 3 patios that help us also to balance, to work in the best ways possible with environmental, so with the natural ventilation. So these are in all the open space. Again, we had a we have a program, so they ask a lot of classroom, a lot of laboratory, but in a very small plot. So it was not so easy to fit everything in this plot. This is the backyard. Here we have another school, and we use also this space. And so this is the ground floor. The second floor, in the ground floor, we have also the office for the teacher office, the director office, and in Mosul, this school is used in the morning by the boys and the girl in the afternoon, and also the director are different, men and women, and everybody must have his own office. Also, the bathroom should be totally divided, and so we had a lot of complexity and complication. In the first floor, we have laboratories and classroom, and then classroom again, and then the roof that we have just seen. So the idea of patio, again, is give to each patio a themes that is linked with a natural and sustainable element. So, for instance, the more institutional patio, which is nearby the offices, is the water patio. And we design a low-tech fountain that through the evaporation help us to balance the climate and have a quite interest. It's like a natural air conditioner for the patio, and it works. It looks like that it works. All these elements actually are studied with Marco Simonetti, which is I think your professor too. So we work together to have also a scientific output. To have the idea of have some data about it. Then we have the green area patio, which again, as you know, help us to again balance the temperature. And this patio work, I think that we did it also in another project that this kind of patio works very well as an open air classroom. And then we have the toldos, so again, shadow system, the gardens, the urban garden, the didactical gardens on the roof, as I say, and all these elements should help us also to balance the temperature inside the classroom. This is the fountain, should be work with, is supposed to work with rainwater. So we collect the rainwater, we just pump with a very few energy it on the top, and then for gravity go down, and this became and the wind passed through, and actually you can, because it's very dry, the climate is hot and dry, and so it works and it's very simple. This is the other patio, the playground. Let's call it playground. And according with the idea of decreasing the temperature with a green area in the open air classroom, the green patio, we have a cross ventilation, and that's work quite efficiently. So sometimes this passive principle are always a consequence in the shape of the architecture. This is what I mean, no? When I say what I say before. Then we work in the south with a ventilate facade, and these were the biggest contribute by Professor Simonetti, because they calculated the amount of empty space, you know, how big should be the open space in the facade to have an efficient ventilation. Again, it's a very low-tech ventilate facade, but again, it looks like that probably the building is not finished yet, so we don't know exactly, but we think that probably it could works. I'm quite confident about it. So this is the facade. As you can see, the privacy is quite emphasized. We are integrate in the context, in the historical context where we are. We have a base that work with the same material, which is made all the city, and then we use a plastering, white plastering, with lime for the upper part, also to reflect the light and don't overheating the building. This kind of screen is made with the bricks that we use. We found a very nearby factory of bricks, and we use these bricks, and we alternate it, and we build this kind of a mascherabia, very, you know, low tech. This is the water patio. This is the fountain. Again, these are the office of the director of the schools, the administrative office, and this is the corridor that link all the patio. This is the facade, that the ventilate facade that I have just talking about. All these parts are, you know, made with a empty space where it make possible the passage of the ventilation. Also in the corridor, we have a lot of space that became open space, open classroom, open outdoor classroom. And this is the playground with this screen that became, which are movable. So you can move it according where the sun is moving. So this is the building. Let me show you the last news that this is where we are now. Usually we use very few concrete, but in this case we're impossible because we are in a very difficult neighborhood. And in the first survey, they didn't say us that here we have a kind of hill. Okay, they thought that there was just a building. Okay, and in the end, when they clean the plot, discover that all the topography is totally different. And so we had to change all the project and add in these contain walls to support to avoid that hills falling down in our plot, you know. And this is Mosul. Okay, after years, we are still in a very, you know, destroyed city. Everything is very slow. A lot of money come in Mosul, but no very efficient. I mean, okay, I stop. But this is, for instance, talking about amate l'architettura, odiate l'architettura. This is one of the reasons why I really hate what we are doing, no? Because the huge amount of bureaucracy and the inefficient way to manage money and solution, and the very fake way how a lot of people talk about sustainability, but they very rarely really believe on it. So the most important thing is just check flag a point and just go forward, you know? No, not really doing what we would like to do, no? So also all the sustainable solution and low-tech solution and cheap solution that we propose for us were quite difficult to push the decision in that direction, because everybody want to maintain the status quo, doing everything as they know how they can do. Okay, so using a concrete, using, you know, very no-insulated, but we introduce also the insulation, because in the winter time is also cold. And we adding as much thermal inertia as possible, and the ventilate facade. But for our, you know, controller, everything were inutile. We just have to do it and then leaving. Okay. So this is a first issues. A part of it, this is, you know, a very, very annoying process that we did part of the process, actually, that we did to get the final result. Now, from the beginning, when we won the competition, we present a methodology. We say we are going to do it. We are going to do that, and then from then we did it. We went on the place. We proposed it. We did the focus groups. We made the first deliver, but in this case, UNESCO, in all the first part, they don't even have an architect. So we have to discuss with somebody that don't even understand what we were asking for. We get the survey after doing the project, in a way, no? And then we have to do it another time, and we insist. We really need it. We really need it. Don't worry. We are sure about what we are saying. So, and it is totally. You know what I mean? Frustrating, yeah. And then all this process were in the COVID happened, and so everything stopped again, and we did a lot of problems. In that age, in that period, we had other two projects in Sudan and Uganda, and it was crazy because the people can come back and so on. We were quite difficult to manage all these unusual situation. No, we used to work in a crisis and in emergency, but that were a new emergency, no? So it were totally different. And in all this process, UNESCO or, you know, UN agency ask much more stuff than what we agreed in the contract, but they are most powerful, no? So okay, these are some of, you know, the situations that probably you can meet in the near future. But I think that this is one of the most beautiful way to be architect. I think that is the most beautiful, be useful work in this field, in the international cooperation, in the social involvement. And I really think that we every time we will need more architect, because also due to the climate emergency, the climate crisis that we are living, we every day more we are going to need architect that design resilience place and can react to these events that happen every day more frequently. And again, there are these crazy men that, I mean, we are talking a lot about Ukraine, war, okay, but in the world right now we have a huge amount of war, okay, even worse, okay, because are longer, because so our contribution is fundamental, is very important, and I really push you to try. And I think that there are a kind of interesting space to get a job. Okay, I'm going to show you another project. Maybe I don't know how we are in the timeline. And just this is a Gaza project. We are still in an emergency context. Francesca knows very well this project. And but I still show this project because I think that is quite well done and have a quite peculiar, story events happen in this building. So I think that is quite interesting show as a very peculiar case study. We could design it actually with Mario Cucinella office, and then we take care of all the work site and several aspects. Here we are in the north part of the Gaza Strip, as you can see. So where Heretz Gate is, so basically where the people enter in Gaza. As you know, Gaza is surrounded by a wall, so it's not so easy entering in Gaza. And also, for instance, Gaza is one of the places where we have a war that during years. The people that live in Gaza is under stress from huge amount of time. What we did, again, we don't have a lot of materials. We don't have a lot of possible solution. We don't have to just design something, but we have to design something according with what we can find on the place. According with the place where we are working. So here we get, I think, to design a really complete passive building and low-tech building. So with very low amount of materials, we get a very high performance. We work with a double roof, which according with the idea of double roof, you don't need insulation because with this kind of temperature, it works very well. We have a big tank where we collect the rainwater, but also the gray water from the bathroom. So we clean the water and we reuse it. And we use the earth. These are the imagine. We dig the place, and so the building is partially hypogeo. So we take advantage about the property of the hypogeo building to maintain the temperature, but we use the earth to build the building with earth bag techniques, which were something that we found in Gaza. There was one example, and we found these long bags. And so we decided to use these techniques and give this shape to the building because we had these techniques and this material. Okay, so we don't just draw something because we like the shape of the building, but we draw something, be aware about what are the characteristics of material and building principle. These are the bags, and usually the bags are used in a different way, like a dome, because the shape allows to maintain the structure. But in this case, this is a kindergarten, and we need a classroom, so the circular shape doesn't fit with the function, with what the client asks to us. And it doesn't fit with the didactical approach, basically. So we push this technique a little bit forward, and we use this part of the wall as contrafforte. We use say again? Bearing wall, and then it became a kind of each classroom is linked to the other one. So, and it works very well because this building resists tree bombing, and so the idea works. The idea of using this technique in this other way, in this unusual way, works quite well. These are some phases. As you can see, is quite simple, very heavy. It's not so easy to do it, but I mean, it's easy to build it in this way, but you must be in a lot of people. As you can see, there is Berber ware in between one layer and the other one, and then the bags are filled with earth. We didn't add any concrete, just the earth, and it works very well. Very interesting thermal inertial properties, and the difference of temperature between outside and inside were quite evident. You can perceive very intensely it. Then also the plastering were done with the earth that we found on the place, because in terms of architectural, the idea that we are is build something that born from the place. These are the things. These are the phase where we excavate the tank. This is the tank. This is the only place where we intensely use massively. We use the concrete because the water pushing a lot. The internal patio were done just with adobe techniques, with bricks made with just adding some clay from another place, but we use just natural material. So when it will be eventually destroyed, all the material can come back to the natural cycle of life. The roof this shape for several reasons. We in the beginning we are in a Bedouin village, so the idea were evocate the tents of the Bedouin. The Bedouin are used to be nomad, but in the war zone they can be nomad, and so they stay. And so that is part of the tradition. But this shape is also one of the best way to collect as much as possible rainwater, and also we get the proper inclination for the photovoltaic system. And we designed the first photovoltaic system in Gaza Strip, by the way. And these are the internal. The bristlets are studied in a way that we have the proper amount of natural light when the building is used as a kindergarten. And this is the patio just after the work site. So we had water in a very dry place with city and so on. We had the opportunity to have the grass. The middle part of the patio, we have a phyto depuration bath. So it's a kind of fountain that help us to balance the temperature through, again, the evaporation of the water, and the water are the rainwater till the rainwater until we have the rainwater, because in this place the rain is just the seasonal rain is 1 month, sometimes 2 months. But we have the bathroom water that we clean and we can use for the field, for the plants, and also for the agricultural field that are just outside of the school. This part. So this is the idea, no? Create a kind of landmark with this roof, which evocate the tents, which is white, so reflect the light. Don't absorb it, and the same color, the same earth that you have in the surrounding area is the same that we use for the plastering, and so it's a kind of merge, is a building that born from the place. So this is the idea. Okay. And again, we try to the sustainable principle, the passive principle became also language of architecture. Okay, again, I'm going to stress this idea. The cultural issues became also a way to react to the environmental of the place. The environmental shape the building according with the culture. Okay, these are the idea. But sometime in this area can happen also this. So this building were destroyed in 2014. Okay, by Israeli occupation. I don't talk about. I'm not going to talk about these issues. But the point is that it were just destroyed. Okay, so the community were lived without any school. This kindergarten actually were also a women's center. So in a place where the women are not very, have a lot of problem in terms of, acceptation and, freedom life. And that these were the only place where the women can be free in a way. But we come back, we build another kindergarten in the same village and in the same, not exactly in the same plot, but in the same village. And we work in this case with other techniques because one of our mission, our goals are to sprawl as much as possible different techniques, different knowledge to these communities so they can then replicate it, be independent, get this knowledge and then improve the quality of the life that they are going to live. This is a persistent building. In this case, this is the women's center. So this should be a little clinic that then they didn't build it because they don't have the money, and we design and build this building again, which is the kindergarten. Again, we work with the patios and the green patios and we introduce three basically innovation: the green roof, the compressed earth blocks, and the Nubian vaults. This building is a kind of, tribute to Hassan Fatih in a way. No, I mean, I for me, yes, it's like that. And we started with the dome, with the vault, because the building, I mean, in the Islamic culture, the dome, the vault are very present, and actually in this building, which is designed by a local architect, were quite present. There are a lot of it, and so with our style, so more simple, more essential, more we work with the same idea, simplifying it, but pushing the techniques. Nubian vault is very, very peculiar vault, but we are going to talk about it. So, yeah, you can see the green wall. This is the building. This is outside the porch. This is the module. Again, we work with the idea of replicability, no, which is give the chance to do again. So the idea is have a very simple module. So this is a classroom. With the Nobia vault, we didn't get to have a very big span because you did it without any structure in the building construction phases. And so we add a flat roof, which is a green flat roof. So this is the idea. We study it from an organization which is called Nubian Volt in français. Come si dice in francese? Volt Nubien. This is the name of the association, and they are very specialized working on it. You can find in the website a lot of information about it. And also Caravatti, which is another architect, very, very good architect, both Matteo and Emilio, which are brothers that used to work with Nubian Volt. And so also we had some conversation about it in the design phases. And in the end, we work in this way. So we add a beam here, and we had a Nubian Volt and a flat roof, and this became our model that could be replicable and easy. You can do it. This is the patio that I love, because they are very, very, very nice place with a shadow, with the tree shadow. These are the environment not going to explain, but we work with the cross ventilation. We always did some open in the upper part of the vault to, make possible the hot air go in this way go out. The bristlate are made with a different dimension according with the way how they can is a horizontal bristlate, and they can put the light inside in a proper way. This is a Nubian Vault. As I say, you don't really need structure to support the vault, but you have to put in the place in a proper way, bricks by bricks, and that's allow you to don't use any structure. So the point is, as we don't have a lot of material, we don't have any wood and metal. Each material is a problem, because it's not so easy bring inside Gaza building material, because the Israel army doesn't allow it. It doesn't permit in a very easy way. And so we did it with these techniques, which work quite well. You basically have to put in place bricks by bricks with this inclination, and these bricks push this big wall that you build before the vault. These are the compressed earth blocks that we use. So basically are earth, clay, sand, and thanks to the pressure of the bricks, you have a quite interesting increasing of the mechanical resistance of the bricks. So are quite is a quite interesting alternative of the fire bricks. These are the phase. This is the Nubian Vault done. Again, the final goal, again, also in terms of the language, as we are also architect, of course, the starting point is always the techniques, the characteristic of the material, but in this case, we would like to produce a kind of dunes, sand dunes in the desert dunes. Okay, the phase. This is a porch that work with the metaphor of the derb, which is a little street that bring in the typical Islamic neighborhood to the private house. And so is the final, more private part of the city. And is a porch that protect from the rain when rain, but became also outdoor classroom. And so each element of architecture have its own function and idea, starting from the culture and environmental. Okay, this is the final. We don't have still the bristlate here, but as you know, it's quite difficult to take picture to this building because we can come back. We need a very peculiar visa to enter in Gaza, and we don't get it if you are not working on it. And so in this case, we didn't get to take picture when the building were finished. The porch and the building. How we are going with the time? So we can start with the question. Great. Okay, so I'm finished here now. You are very welcome.
Thank you, Alessio. I will not take the written question for public. First. Hi, first of all, thank you very much. My question would be, in your opinion, how could the incorporation of these appropriate technologies and these vernacular architecture principles contribute not only to the architectural sustainability, but also to the economic and cultural sustainability of modern design?
Like that. Ok, serve il microfono o posso far senza?
No.
Non è legato questo alla registrazione. How I mean, yeah, the answer is like that. We in each project we start from the vernacular, and sometimes I use vernacular as synonym of. I use traditional as synonym of vernacular, which is not the same things, but we can consider it like the same things. And I think that is probably if you design it in the proper way, the most interesting way to be also as cheap as possible, no? And so economical, sustainable, also in a sustainable in an economical way. And the appropriate technology contained in the definition this concept, no, is the more appropriate to the cultural, economical, and environmental context where you are. So how you can do it, starting from what you have, starting from the local knowledge, and then we have to live to the power of the design, bring everything in the contemporary. I don't know if I am clear yet. So I really believe that as architect, we have to, it is very important design, the power of design, and design today is more important than, in another age for that, because now we work a lot. I mean, after, the introduction of the oil culture, we leave all the idea of comfort to the plants. Okay, air conditioner, heat system. We design everything in a freedom way, totally freedom, like giving all the importance to the shape of the building, but we don't really think about what are the principles that drive, the good architecture in the past. Okay, I really believe that we have to start again, to think from the starting point of architecture, use it as a really starting point, take care about it, and then think about shape, using as less as possible as less as possible the plants and the energy. Just a very quick way. I show you. I mean, just no. I don't show you. Just I show. You could go to the website of ABC 21, which is a research that we are going to do is exactly for that. And you can find a lot of papers and reports about it, where we can where we propose to start from passive principle to design it, to design everything. And the idea is using as less as possible all the plans that you are going to put inside the building today. And we can do it is focused in Africa, but also in south of Europe, because the temperature are increasing. So the idea is use as less as possible the air conditioning, for instance, through a proper way to design. Okay?
Thank you. I think that this is an important topic for today's class because it is the central topic of today's class. Also because it's the way how architects can act in this way, because only us can draw with the form and also the technical issue of the building design. Some other questions from us?
First, thank you for the presentation and very important. I want to ask you about you like to not like maybe, but you work in all projects or in a hot place, not like in weather conditions, but like or post-war or during war or like with a polygon or some target. First school were bombed, like you said, it was target. Second school was also demolished with a military force. So I want to ask, like, how you are considering the context of the war or post-war in your project, or it's like a most important phase, or you are focusing on it like on the second part. And the second question, more specific one, why you didn't consider any shelters or bunkers in your project? Because like for the target, maybe when you're architect, you can consider that you can at least say one person's life with your design, and you can design the shelter and save someone's life there. So what will be your answer?
The first one, say again.
First one was just work context.
How to deal with work, work.
Yeah, I do the. I mean, we work in as architect. Okay, we don't really consider the war as a factor that could affect it. We think that we hope that the war will be finished and that's it. Okay, no. So yeah, of course. So we are in a very peculiar way. In Gaza, for instance, I drive alone. No, it's not true. But I go around alone, and I don't have any bodyguard, and so really we don't want to have it. In Mosul, we're impossible because our client were directly an UN agency, and so they constrain. There is no way you have to do it. So these are all elements that affect your way to have a relationship in the place where you are. No, looking for materials is a problem. When I bought in Gaza Strip the photovoltaic system, I were in the center of Gaza City, and I were in a black market. So I did something that it looked like very dirty, you know. It looked like I'm going to buy drugs or something like that in a very tiny way street and so on. And I were just buying photovoltaic systems, you know. And so that of course affects, you know, your way to design and your way to work, move in the place. but the final project is always give the biggest, the highest level of quality to the children that are going to live in the place. Okay, to the people, to the women, to everybody that live in the place. The attitude is the same in a war zone or in Europe. Okay, and through the appropriate technology. So maybe with different technology, but with the same attitude. Okay, I don't know if I am answering. If you, no, you are not convinced.
Yeah, because like even I am from the country which suffered with the war in this sense. So when you are expecting some crazy guy who decides something, you need a shelter or you need some protection for you, like to just save your life. You know?
Yeah.
But how should consider it in your in
I mean,
project somehow?
For instance, you know, in Gaza, in the first project, we didn't use concrete, and in the second, we use strong beams to support it. We don't use glass, for instance. We use plexiglass because with a bomb, they can damage the children. Yes, for this for this aspect, yes, you can do it. We think about it absolutely. And about the bunker and so on, I mean, one of the reasons why the school, the kindergarten in Gaza were destroyed, they say to us, were because the tank, because that looked like a bunker, and so could be used by Hamas and Jihad Islamic, and because could be the starting point from a gallery. You know that you know, from Gaza there are some gallery, and from this gallery some, you know, Hamas or Jihad go and make some shooting, you know, they some attentato, attack, some attack in the, and so if you dig something, they arrive. So you have to be very careful about it. And so in the second school, we did collect the rainwater, for instance, for that, for this reason, because that can become excuse for the Israel army to bombing. Okay.
It was my question. Context. And why you didn't doing bunker stuff. It was my question.
Yeah, I consider that. No, I don't want to transform this children land in something so linked with the world. You know, actually, we did a very strong walls also in the first school. It resisted to three bombed, so we did very strong. But inside, in the patio, we would like to create a paradise, something very protect, something very freedom, not something that can, you know, evocate what happened outside. Okay, so this is the idea. Create a piece of normality. Okay.
First, thank you for the presentation. I also question about content. How do you deal with this conflict of having an emergency site that normally requires a really quick solution for the problem for the architecture, with the bureaucracy and the difficulties of finding material, and also all this process of experimenting new techniques that may take a long time to develop?
Yeah. No, basically, as I say before, I mean, basically with experience. The experience is fundamental. The capacity, the problem solving is fundamental, and we work a lot before going to the place. No, when I talk about learning by doing as approach, when I talk about creating the manuals, I mean, everything should be checked and controlled from the beginning. When we go on the place. And with this manual are sent to the community before we arrive. When we arrive, they more or less know what's going on. And when we arrive, we are very organized. Okay, I mean, it's quite difficult because you can be to German, to Switzerland, because you are in a Bedouin village, so you need rest, you need tea time, you need a lot of, but according with the local culture, because it's always important, have the trust from the community, work with the community, but be as much efficient as possible. Then if you are in a good mood with the community, then they understand that we are doing something for the children, for their children. And so they help. A lot of the people that works in this school were the father of the children that then are going to use the school. So is we are really a community. The first school we did the first school living in the community. We sleep, we eat with them. We did the same, and we did it. We build it in a self-construction, and we work as a worker too. Now I can do it because my back is totally. But this is a way.
Some other questions? I think that this question was quite important because it is focused this architecture object that we see that a lot of progress are done, and all the experience that the people in the research that have to be done for are right at this point. So this is the I will ask you for sure.
Last call for a question. Anything from you? Okay, no, I'm always happy about hearing from you and your work because really it is what we are doing also in our design studio. That started with you. Probably our students, they don't know, but the first edition of the Atelier Design Scarcity was with Alessio, teaching instead of Professor Roviglio, and we worked in Gaza as a case study. So I was trying to remember, it was 10 years back that we had these also conferences about scarcity and creativity, in which we had many architects coming here and discussing how to deal with creativity and design when you have a limited condition, limited resources, and scarcity. So what I think it is really important to remember is that it is never a linear process. It is always managing complexity. And so you have to be adaptable. So what it is called adaptable change, it is for sure a skill that we have to have. So this is something very important. And also the change of paradigm in which we are not starting the project and then searching for materials and technologies like in a catalog, but changing completely our perspective and starting from what is available in terms of local resources, in terms of local capacities, local knowledge, and then having the best project you can have with starting with this context. And this is something that I think is really meaningful because the architect is not anymore at the center. It's more than this. You have multiple stakeholders. It's not about having a relationship between the client and the architect, but you have also the community, you have the workforce, you have a lot of other actors that are contributing to the project. So in a way, it's more complex, but it's also something very challenging. So I was thinking about the work that we are doing in our design studio. It's about Ukraine and the reconstruction after war of primary healthcare facilities. And many inputs I think you gave us, they will be helpful. I don't know if you agree, but I think that the approach is really important to deal with this phenomenon. And so thank you very much, Alessio.
Thank you.
So I conclude our lecture of today. Yes.
No.
So thank you, Alessio, for being today with us. Thank you for sharing with us your knowledge, your experience, your design, and your research. Thank you for Francesca Filippi, who and thank you all. See you next Tuesday.
Thank you, Marco.